Alright, I'm going to do a quick video on something I've had a long talk with a few people. And people are getting some misinformation. Or not necessarily misinformation, but could have a different idea and get a better setup for what they actually need. And the difference is going with an 18 volt over a smaller, higher quality brand, manufacturer, in a 12 volt. Now these are both, Makita and Milwaukee, and I will drop brand names. Same can be said with DeWalt, Bosch. They're all good quality. But a lot of people will go to, your basic home center and look at the store brand and go, wow, this is like half the price, and I get this massive battery, and it's more powerful, and it's just better, even though it's a lesser expensive unit, so it probably won't last. And there's the key one. They won't last as long. Now, having the 18 volt or 24 volt or 20 volt, depending on the brand, or 48 or even bigger, it's all great in construction, professional use, all day long, every day. But using them around the shop, and why I went to a 12 volt over the 18 is two major factors. Well, three, actually. One is price. To replace them, if anything goes wrong, or to buy a new tool, 12 volt is generally cheaper. Even in the name brands. Even if you get a store brand 18 volt, it's generally going to be the same price or very close to a name brand 12 volt. Now, everybody knows buying a name brand, blah, blah, blah. You can buy good store brand stuff, and you can. And I'm not saying they're bad, and if you got them already, good for you. There's nothing wrong with them. They still work. The thing about it is a good name brand unit will last longer. First and foremost. So if I have a choice between a name brand 12 volt and a store brand, these aren't store brand, these are nice Makitas, a store brand 18 volt, I will 90% of the time choose a name brand 12 volt. The other advantage, and the reason I started buying 12 volt again, is sheer weight. If I'm doing construction, if I'm building a house, if I'm climbing ladders and hanging windows and, framing walls and just heavy duty stuff, and I need it to just be powerful and drive, 3, 4 inch, sometimes 5 inch, 6 inch timber lock style screws, 18 volt all the way. If I'm building a shed, I will buy an impact and a drill, an 18 volt, any day of the week. If I'm working in this shop on a day-to-day basis, building charcuterie boards and small furniture and fine furniture and things like that, these get used 100 times more than these. These things haven't been used 2 hours total time since I moved into this garage. These get used 2 hours a day. The other advantage to them is simple control. Again, if you're doing nicer quality, if you're not framing, if you're doing finer quality, even the bench, even though this is kind of framing, I built this bench with these, not with these. Even though it's all pressure treated, 2x4s and 4x4s. They're actually a little smaller because I planed them, but you get the point. I still use these because there's more control. When you pull the trigger on this, I can go very slow or I can go fast. Not only that, generally the top speed of a 12 volt tool is going to be much lower than the top speed of an 18 volt tool. Now here's the thing, especially with impacts and drills. If I go to drive a screw with this and I pull the trigger, this thing is screaming. You are much more, even with an impact, likely to strip, bust, just destroy a screw. With this, than you are with this. And if you're working with trim screws and smaller sizes and shorter lengths, far better tool to get. Okay, again, the 12 volt is fine. Will with a 12 or 18 volt drill faster? Sure. Hey, that didn't work right. Nope. I don't think it drilled any faster. And it was actually not as tight. But that's just, I didn't tighten the chuck. But let's go to setting a screw. This is with the 12 volt. See, I can control it. It's much slower. I can control it, and the bit doesn't pop out as much. Much more controlled. It is slower, which is what makes it more controlled. Let's do the 18. See? This is the problem with the 18, and that's me barely touching the trigger. I'm trying to control it more. Now it is faster, but then it did that, which I wasn't even expecting it to. That's hot. But that's the other problem with the 18 when you're doing this kind of work, is I stripped the screw up because it's got too much power. So there you go. The triggers are usually finer. I mean, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's actually spinning right now. Just really slow. I can't do that with this. That's about the slowest I go. And that's actually good, which is why I got the Makitas, because they have about the slowest trigger pull there is. The other thing, and just the usage of an impact, you'll see a lot of people go with an impact. You really don't want to do that with an impact. Either size. You want to pull the trigger, really give it some juice at first, get the screw started, and then as the screw gets in and you hear it starts binding, you actually slow it down. That'll less likely break your screw. You don't have to do the pulsing. The impact does the pulsing for you. That's its job. That's what it does. But we're deterring from the whole thing. The last and least, or last and most important thing is money. These two tools, with the Sawzall, the charger, 2 batteries, was the same money as one of these as a tool alone. Actually, no, I think I got the battery with them. But you get my point. You get more for your money. You'll get more tools. You get a drill. You'll get an impact. You may get a angle drill or a grinding unit or a oscillating tool for the same price, especially if you buy the kits, as you do for much less tools in the 18. Even with the store brands. If you buy a store brand, 18, 20, 24 volt, 48 volt, whatever you want, you'll get less tools for the same money as a name brand 12 volt tool set, if you buy the set. Like, again, you get the whole tool set, and I'll bring this over here. When I got these Milwaukee's, I got the drill, the impact, and this is not the impact. I actually got this impact. Let me bring it out. This is actually the one I got. These are, and that's another thing I'm going to talk about, is brushed over brushless. These are all brushed. These were the originals. I've had these freaking forever. These are about $200. I got 2 batteries, the charger, and 3 tools. You get the little mini Sawzall, which I'm selling, by the way, if you want to buy it. Much cheaper. Much more expensive. These are more powerful. Again, if you're framing, if you're doing heavy construction, if you're out on a job site and you need the battery to last the longest it possibly can, you need to get a big beefy 18 volt with as many, working amps as you can, and just deal with the weight. If you're working in a shop, having the smaller, lighter tool with the smaller, maybe less lasting battery may actually be an advantage because you're going to have a lot less fatigue. You're going to have a lot more tools for your money. You can buy better quality tools, name brand stuff. And the only other reason to go with 18 volt, and that's kind of gone away now with Milwaukee pretty much only, is the availability of tools in the smaller battery size. Milwaukee, as of now, the last I've looked, has pretty much every tool you can imagine in 12 volt. Right down to like circular saws and everything. Now there's a tool, most of the saw stuff, I wouldn't buy 12 volt. Circular saws. This is something, unless you just never use it and you're always just, you might bring in a load of lumber from the lumber yard and cut up a dozen, boards to length roughly real quick so you can get them up on the racks to dry for a week or two and to acclimate with your garage, and that's all you're using it, then 12 volt might work. But if you're going to do any kind of ripping, any length of cutting, 12 volt just doesn't quite cut it yet with these, with a circular saw or a reciprocating saw. They are fine for the trimmy type saws. Once again, 12 volt. I have an 18 volt of this. Right here. I use this. I have had this maybe 2 months. I bought this as a gift to myself when I sold some stuff for the first time. I've used this more in the last 2 months than I've used this in the last 5 years. This is big, it's heavy, it's cumbersome. It's great when you need it, but I don't use it anymore. I use this. It's smaller, it's lighter. This, I will get all the cuts I need off of one battery. This, I often have to change the battery in the middle of something, but I'm okay with that because it's right there. Again, job site, big, bulky, battery lasts forever, good. Shop, less fatigue, smaller, lighter. I can get more tools for the same money. I could buy sets cheaper by going 12 volt. So that's about it on that. Now let's talk about one last thing and why you can go to 12 volt name brand over pretend these are not name brand and they're some kind of store brandy cheapo ones. You could use these over these. And the thing that you can really save money is by going with brushed. And everyone's going to be, oh my god, brushed is so much better. Yeah, no. I have both. I still grab my brushless the most. Sounds weird, huh? Or my brushed, excuse me. I still grab my brushed the most. The brushless works fine. Has power. Has more power. These are equivalent tools. Brushless, brushed, brand new, very old. I still use this more. Shouldn't say more. Equivalent. For a simple fact is, it is less powerful. Again, in a shop, when you're working with smaller screws and trim screws and shorter screws and things of that sort, the lower power and more control, this spins very slowly and my trigger has variable speed, much better. Now this has the same thing, but it's more touchy. It goes from slow to fast, much easier. Now it has all these speed settings and everything, which are all fine. I never use them. I find they're more cumbersome. And again, that's why I just go to the old brushed unit, because it works. I pull the trigger, it spins the screw, I can rely on it. It is getting old. It's got that burnt brush smelling thing going on, but these are very old, and these were job site tools. I use these for doing trim, like around cabinetry and, door trim and putting door hardware on and just doing the smaller more delicate stuff. Again, that's why I originally got these, and these were the first two 12-volt tools I got. It's your choice. If you're framing or you plan on framing, there's nothing wrong with the 18. They work fine. They're great. Oh, the one other last little thing. Everyone says, oh, they don't stand up on the Milwaukees. These little tools, I don't want standing up, because then you bump them and they do that and they fall over and you break your drill bits. And I almost never stand the tool up on the end. I always lay them down. I can't tell you how many drill bits have been broken, because I've had people working with me. I put a drill bit in there, especially the smaller ones. They set it down. Somebody walks by and knocks it over, breaks the bit. But yeah, when you go to look for new tools, really consider, if you're going to work in a shop, if you're going to work around your house doing honey-do list stuff, 12-volt may actually be a lot better for the requirements you're going to use it for. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm actually going to try and do some more of this type of video on tools and why I buy sometimes lesser tools to do a job. We'll see how that goes. Have a great day.